Welcome back to Newsday. Thank you so much for staying with us. River State Governor Wike calls on Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, to invoke the doctrine of political expediency that will pave the way for the ouster of the party's national chairman, Senator Iyorchia Ayu. Wike, at a media interaction in Port Harcourt, the state capital, on Friday, said for political expediency and inclusivity, Ayu must be sacrificed for PDP to win the 2023 general election. The governor and his political allies have been insistent on the removal of Ayu as the PDP national chairman to ensure regional balance in the equitable distribution of elective offices between the north and the south. Ayu, like the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, is from the north. According to Wike, the National Working Committee of the PDP can remove Ayu and zone back the national chairmanship of the party to the south. He said the NWC decision could be ratified at a national convention after the 2023 general election. Wike also said those advising Atiku to ignore him and his allies have no electoral value and are deceiving the party's presidential candidate. Now, to join us to unpack this and examine this, we are joined by Arise analyst Dr. Sam Amadi. So we'll be examining how Wike's position will affect the chances of the PDP in the 2023 general election. Good day, and to just get straight into it, let's talk numbers, facts and figures. In his interaction with the media, Governor Wike said that PDP's presidential ticket needs him because they need Rivers State, as they do not have Lagos and Kano, and they cannot win a presidential election without him. How realistic is this statement?
I think realistic to the point that we accept that this is going to be a very competitive election. The previous patterns will not work here because in the past we've had a two-horse race majorly. But now we're going to have a three-horse race in a major sense, and some may argue by maybe a four-horse race. But again, you may lose Lagos, lose Kano, lose Rivers, and still win. How? If the persons who win Lagos or Kano are different. So let's say, for example, if PDP doesn't win Rivers State, it's very probable that P2B will win Rivers. In fact, with or without Wike, some people would think that P2B is very competitive in Rivers, could win. For now, it's trending Peter. And if Asiwaju wins in Lagos, and maybe Peter does very well, extremely well as projected, and PDP does not very well, it means that this is in strategy is relativity. Relative to who? So in that case, somebody who loses Rivers, Kano, and Lagos could win. And Kano, assuming, without considering that the NNPP wins Kano, and Atiku does very well but didn't win, and maybe other people come. So you have three key states won by three different persons that may not lead to pathway to victory. So Rivers' status in this election is further downgraded by the emergence of multiple candidates. So in which case, if P2B wins Rivers in the event that PDP doesn't win, and Tinubu wins Lagos and Peter does extremely well, or Peter wins Lagos by some calculation, and Kokwanso wins Kano, or Atiku wins Kano, or either way. So you discover that the chances are still open. It now depends on three factors. One, spread, as the constitution says. So if you manage to get to one-third in two-third states across the country to 4 states, then you've passed the first hurdle. The second hurdle will now be simple majority. So if nobody wins at the first ballot, they will get second ballot. So the point, therefore, is that, yes, nobody's considering Rivers. I don't think Atiku has considered Rivers that they cannot win, and Wike too has not said Atiku will not. But the point is that Rivers is not the pathway to victory, and that's very clear. And if you look at last election, 2019, the PDP did well in Rivers, but did actually better in Delta State in terms of number of votes. And even that did not in any way put Atiku Abubakar in the horizon of electoral victory, considering the way that President Buhari did very well in the Northwest and Northeast, and headstrong in the Southwest. So we're going to say a number of factors. One of them is the spread. Second is domino effect. The person who locks a zone by how many votes. If Atiku Abubakar locks down Northwest, Northeast, and then competitive in the North Central, he could actually win without really winning the rest of the zones. If different persons win Southeast, Peter takes, and takes probably South-South, or contends very well. Asiwaju takes Southwest, but Atiku and Peter get some bite from that. So at the end of the day, really, this is an open election, and you need to win all the votes you can. You need to try to be as competitive as you can in different zones. But the pathway to victory is not Rivers, it's not Lagos, it's not Kano. It is a cumulative of all the states.
Very well said, Dr. Amadi. Now, one of the big questions that we were waiting to be answered during that expose was if Wike would be leaving the PDP. And he says he's not, because he needs to stay in the party for the sake of inclusivity. But he has also painted the likes of Iyorchia Ayu and the presidential candidates, Atiku Abubakar, in a bad light. Could this expose cost PDP the ticket come 2023 in the elections? Because now we're talking about integrity and trust and lack of transparency based on what he said today.
Absolutely. I think if Nigerian political environment was responsive, call it elasticity in economics, price elasticity, that means perception shapes outcome fundamentally. All that Wike has been doing, not just today. I think that Wike had already eroded the brand significantly before now. Nothing new really. He has abused the candidates, in my view. Even if he does not leave PDP, he has actually done damage to the ticket. I mean, when you present a candidate as someone who is unreliable, as somebody who had promised you something, didn't deliver, you keep saying, look, which party am I? And that is too childish. And if you like, it's like blabbing. I mean, clearly, you are telling Nigerians that this candidate is not reliable. That's what it means. And I think that's why the PDP has to move on away from Wike and consider him as, at this point, as even an enemy of the party, of the ticket. So in my view, he is speaking ill of that ticket and damaging his credibility. The only saving grace is that Nigerian politics is not responsive to credibility. We have embedded and trapped electorates. Those are going to respond to palliatives, those are going to respond to ethnicity, to religion, those are going to respond to maybe, look, we don't care. There will be movement, people will say, look, we don't care about all these tyrants and, mudslinging. We are fed up with the system. We want to hear about major policy break. So Wike's brickbat probably will be drowned out by the momentum of politics and re-exercise issues that are facing around. Inflation, insecurity everywhere, the economic crisis, people can't even get food to the table. I guess when campaign starts, nobody's going to be talking about Ayu promised you, he's going to drop, I didn't. Oh, people say, oh, well, that's Ayu deceived you. Let's move on. What is it that Atiku wants to do for Nigeria? What is it PDP wants to do for Nigeria? What is it that Asiwaju wants to do for Nigeria? What have they done in the past? Those are the issues you're going to hear. And then on the dark side of it, you're going to hear about religion, about IPOB, about Biafra, about North-South divide. So those are going to weigh in much to the outcome. I think people will forget this griping and this sense of, oh, they treated me badly. My honest view is that we didn't make any strong rational point here. Look at it this way. He wants the neck to take extraordinary action. First, he has to submit to process and rules. Politics is a game of self-interest, but conducted within that platform of rules and process. So first process, if you subject itself to NEC, then if NEC says that this man stays, then that should be it. You can't say you want process. At the same time, you are personalizing this grievance. He told me he has to resign because he told me. Now, let's concede that that's true. He told he would resign. Now, the only place to resign is either he voluntarily, like Atiku said, it's right. Look, this guy has to say, I want to resign. Now, if he has to be forced out, he has to be forced out through a process. And the only process that is recognized is NEC. NEC held 2 weeks ago. Some of his men were there. I saw the picture. I saw the former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, sitting there. And this same NEC says vote of confidence. My real worry with Wike's position is I understand he has been, been betrayed, quote unquote. I mean, he talked about Tambowal, decamping, sort of stepping down for Atiku. That is politics. Tambowal thinks Wike deceived him by not stepping down for him. That's politics. He talked about Atiku promising him VP, and maybe they look at it and find him as somebody who's going to be intransigent and undermine their mandate. They move on. That's politics. None of these things are outrageously unjust. There's nothing he has said that borders on rigged rules and processes. Yes, the chairman is partisan. The chairman supported his friend Atiku. But if you look at even the US, the Democratic Party leadership supported Clinton openly. Obama won them. And after that victory, they came back and accepted. You see, once rules are followed, I watched the PDP primary. It was free and fair. That the chairman supports somebody and legitimately throws his political weight behind it is part of the rules of politics. I think the problem here is that we have great men who do politics without thinking about rules and processes. There must be a process. And once that process is taken, NEC, please decide, are you step down? NEC says no, are you continue to the end of the election process? If we win the election, we will change our leadership through a convention. That should be a closure. So that's really why it's difficult to understand. Yes, I see grievances, I see history. It doesn't help us to tell us that the chairman collected 1 billion from Lagos State. I mean, that is actually potential criminal action. Are you going to file a charge with the police? So everything Wike said really boils down to a man who invested so much expectation to be the candidate, who lost that opportunity, who was defeated or betrayed in politics, which is the same thing, to the opposite of the VP, he lost it, and feels so bitter, and now wants to ensure an outcome that he can live with, which is, I will step down so that my own candidate from the South steps in. I mean, the diversity of the ticket of the party is important, but the question is at this point, a few days to kick off of campaign, he has not presented enough logic why anything extraordinary has to be done. And if NEC has to do that, NEC has to meet. And there's no guarantee that this same NEC, made up of governors, made up of NWC members and some caucus leaders, will not also return a vote of confidence on IU. Now, if that happens, will Wike's camp now say process has gone through? And in politics, as in governance, sometimes process is more important than outcome. There must be a process, rules-based behavior. We lost gallantly. They cheated us, they dribbled us, they gamed us, but they followed the rules. Next time, we will game them. Those are legitimate infighting struggles in partisan politics. But coming out to talk down on your presidential candidate while still pledging commitment to that party is thoroughly odd and doesn't make any sense in my view.
And, you know, let's talk about politics as a game, as you so eloquently analyzed it for us. Politicians always like to say all politics is local. What's happening? Is this factionalism now trickling down to the grassroots, or is it just playing out with the hierarchy? I'd love to know what the state of the PDP at grassroots level is currently.
I think it's affected the grassroots. Like if you watch a few weeks ago, Governor Wike gave a strong diktat against all those who are meeting in Abuja with Atiku. He came out open, and the good thing about him is that he speaks his mind and he tries to say the truth as he sees it. He says, look, I'm in charge. Any of you who goes to Abuja to go and hobnob with a ticket without my approval, and the party says the only state branch that did not send nominations for the Presidential Council is Rivers State. So clearly, the Atiku IU Wike crisis has polarized Rivers State. As it is today, some of the political leaders in that state have all come together on a platform, alternative platform, to support the party ticket because they rightly believe that they are PDP, they want victory, and they know the high cost of loss of power. But Wike and the structure of the party in the end of his SWC, State Working Committee that he controls, are not yet aligned. So we're going to see in Rivers State a bit of a difficulty in fighting. And if we follow by history, we're going to see repression. Don't forget, during the primary, the contender for the office of the governor was thrown into prison because he's an Atiku supporter. He didn't come out until their primary. So we're going to see high-handed tactics. And Wike has made it clear that when he fights, he deploys even authoritarian strategies. So we might see the Rivers PDP further polarized, we might see also even clear abuse of rule of law. People can be clamped to detention. People can be beaten up because probably they are out there campaigning for the PDP president candidate. Big if, Wike does not fully align before the campaign starts. He gave out some hope, some lining in the sky that, look, silver lining if you like, that look, we're the party, NEC can still do something. So if NEC wakes up tomorrow and follows their rules and say, you go away, and Wike is appeased, maybe, but for me, I would predict that I don't see you quitting at this point. I don't see NEC. There's really no point why NEC should say that at this level. We know, and there are two examples of where PDP has had the same zone for president and chairman of their party. The question is, will PDP win this election? And when they win, is there a strong commitment to go to mini convention and get Ayu out of that office and get a replacement for the South? I think that's really what most PDP stakeholders who are not aligned, and that's a problem. The polarization is too stiff that by now people like Bode George, Jerry Ghana shouldn't be the ones meeting in Port Harcourt. They should be the ones meeting in Abuja and trying to mediate two factions. But what we have seen is that there seems to be no neutral voice here in the PDP struggle. They're either aligned with Wike fully, or there are people who are aligned with the party, with Atiku Abubakar, the candidate, and the Ayu, the chairman. If those elders in that camp were neutral, maybe at this point they will be meeting in Abuja and calling everybody in the same room. Ayu sit there, Wike sit there, and they sit there, and Ayu will say, you know what, I resign voluntarily. Or Wike will say, okay, I see the point, I want this assurance. But it's like winner takes all. It's like polarization, and we're going to see that go down. Good thing is that it might not happen in many states. Rivers, for example, Benue, where Autumn comes, seem not to fall into that category. Even if I was in Abia, I don't see Abia Abia PDP working against their ticket. I don't see Ugwani is fully embracing the ticket. So I think it's going to be a mini crisis in Rivers State. And maybe the PDP president candidate will go ahead, optimize his advantage in other areas and mitigate the losses that will come from this standoff with a leading member of this party, the Governor Wike, who is powerful, entrenched, and who has done a lot for the party, and who deserves good respect and good treatment. But unfortunately, it's a politics of zero-sum game. He lost on two fronts, and it's finding it difficult to reconcile himself to those losses. That's really what is here, what's happening here.
Very well said, Dr. Amadi. Now, of course, some analysts will say that all this could have been, avoided if the ticket was zoned to the South. But I'm just wondering what we might expect to see from the opposition party, especially, like you rightly pointed out, now that we're heading up to, we're waiting for campaigns to emerge. What do you expect to see them do in terms of damage control to try to salvage what's left of the situation?
I think for the PDP, what they should be doing right now is, like they're meeting today, I think they're already meeting throughout this week, looking at what they will do by Wednesday when they inaugurate their campaign structure. So they should be flexible, make room to get back Wike in at any stage of this campaign. I think like Governor Wike has shown that, look, this is not like foreclosed. He didn't bolt the door, he didn't leave the party, so that means there's still a margin of settlement, and they should explore that quickly. Forget whether Wike will give you Rivers or not. Forget whether you win Rivers, you don't win Rivers with the presidency. You actually need in this election to have everybody, every addition matters. In politics is about additional subtraction. You can't lose somebody as powerful as the governor of Rivers State. No, it can't do that in a very competitive election where we are actually weakened by the Obi movement. Again, they also have to be sure that they are getting the right kind of messaging to detract from this message of lack of credibility or reliability. They need to be strong on messaging. And that's why their communication team, the PDP, should be top class. Because look, when you hit a crisis, what you need is communication. You have to find a way to communicate in a way that you take away the innuendos that are laden in this conflict. If they have a weak communication team, then they're going to run into trouble. The APC is primed to optimize on this crisis. Of course, Labour is already moving very well in Rivers, very strong with the youths and the Southeast Igbo population in that state. So I think this is really tricky situation, but it's not. It can be managed well if you have good reconciliation and conflict management strategy at the level of the leadership, and good communication team to be able to put out a narrative that reduces the damage. If there's no reconciliation, expect warfare down the line. And therefore, the question is, in warfare, you have to build a communication machine that can respond, be proactive, and dilute the damage that will come from your opponent.
Dr. Amadi, I like that earlier you said that you can't have an election without the governor of Rivers State. Now, when you look at the Governor Wike's road, the strategy that he'd had to presidency, if I may call it that, from the removal of Uche Secondus and the instilling of IU and, the conundrum we now find ourselves in, one can argue that some critics are saying that Governor Wike is possibly overhyped and that his influence is being overplayed, because if he was that influential, surely he would have been able to at least exert or exercise that influence within his own party. What are your thoughts on this?
In Nigeria, in politics generally, we have what we call three channels of power. First is what people call the muzzle, finance, party structure. The next is what you can call messaging, the morality. And then, of course, emotion, the pathos, whether it's identity politics, whether it is ethnicity, pathos, the emotion. I think Wike is strong on the first, which is financing, the money, the muzzle. So he has used it well to cater for himself, to push himself up. If you look at the party, he actually has a lot of control before this crisis on the NWC. If you look at states, he has governors who are following him up and down. So he has that capability. He has used resources very well to build political strength. But again, the weakness of that strategy is that you alienate people. So look at South-South. He is not standing strong with any of the governors in that zone. That weakens him a lot. And again, if you look at the people around him, some of them are people who don't have, he accused others of having low political value. But people around him don't have political value much. Think in terms of Bode George, a respected elder in the party, strong, brilliant guy. But again, off and on, he has not won anything in Lagos. It's not likely going to win anything in Lagos. If you look at Andoke, if you look at Dakwambo, if you look at Donald Duke, none of these guys, with all charitableness, have the capacity really to cause a game change in their various states. But it's all about addition. Everybody matters. So I think that his strategy also failed him because he took more than he can swallow. He really took everybody on. He talked in that interview about how Biden compensated Kamara for after being bitter rival. But then his own case, he expected that as part of his speaking against Atiku, speaking against his people, that he would have got the VP. But again, you see, there's consequence to what they will say. So the people around Atiku don't see you as a kind of character who will come in. And let's forget the past. In the case of Tamara, we've seen that she has been loyal, committed to Biden, in spite of the misspeak in the campaign trail. But you, for what he's doing now, it's clear that he will not be that loyal and committed to that ticket. So again, what we see is that his bullishness, his strength in being gung-ho, financing projects and dictating and demanding everything to work for him, backfires. It backfires in that he doesn't seem to have real true loyalty beyond those that he could buy over. And so what we're saying in this struggle is that even on the grassroots, look at, if you have Omeha, if you have Obara, former deputy speaker, if you have Sekibo, former minister, if you have all these guys and they're not really with you at that level, it speaks to significant vulnerability at the grassroots electorally. So forget, and this is new electoral act, the whole magic of state governors using machinery of violence and power and finance to write up results is over. The people have to decide, and you just don't have what it takes to push all the electorates to support whoever you want. And so he now has to be a leader who exercises soft power, not hard power, currency, not hard power of office, but soft power of persuasion, or of deference, of respect. And I think that's where his weakness lies. So in this election in 2023, whether it resolved or not, he might not be that much of a game changer, in my view, if you factor all the changes we are seeing in the political landscape. And that really puts fewer chips on his side. And so his combatant, those who are fighting against him, also understand his vulnerability. And that's why they are not throwing in, giving up the whole family heritage to appease him. They understand that he's a strong guy, but also he's a strong guy with clear feet.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sam Amadi. You did justice to that. Dr. Sam Amadi is an Arise News analyst. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time on Newsday.
That's right. Now, Newsday continues in a moment with more of our top stories with Temi Topwe Fabemi and Hawa Mukan. I'm Bimbai Mutiniri Peyong.
And I'm Cynthia Are. Please stay with us.